it's a picture of a panda.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 41. Is
I'm trying to face you. We're facing this one.
Yeah,
this one's a bit weird, isn't it? I'm talking to you on the camera.
Let's I'm saying like, yep. Let's see how it fits.
41 or whatever it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Bit of a change in everyone's sort of training week now. Like, gyms are open. Some people are rolling, and yeah, it's a bit of a light end of the tunnel now, isn't it, for everyone?
Yeah, I think so. What are we now, like 7 or 8 weeks away from everything being a little bit more unrestricted?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little bit longer than that, isn't it? Maybe more like 12 weeks. So we're on, what day are we today? It's the 16th of April today, so I don't know when you're listening to this, but this is the 16th of April when we're recording it. In the UK, they're saying that we're going to be able to get back to training on the 21st
of June.
Yeah. So we've got a couple of months yet to go, but gyms are starting to open back up in general, which means we can get in and start to do classes, get our fitness back, do some drilling, some socially distanced drilling, and just get back in the environment of being back in the gym. Some people are rolling, but some people have been rolling all the way through.
That's it. Like, you just got to do what works best for you, aren't you? Really.
Yeah.
But I think the key thing is getting the body ready for when you can actually get in and get rolling properly, because that's gonna be brutal those first couple of weeks back.
Yeah, and I saw that Andrew Hardwick had put a good post up about this the other day. I don't know if you saw that on the Brotherhood Performance one. He was talking about basically easing yourself back into Jiu Jitsu, and you could look at it from the same point of view you do from like a workout point of view. Like, you shouldn't come back in at the same point you left off if you've got an injury or a long amount of time off. But I find that it's a lot more difficult to do with Jiu Jitsu because it's fun, and you want to start rolling straight away. And there's always that one guy who's going to up the level a little bit too much because it's exciting and it's fun.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people you've not seen for, some people it's up to a year you've not seen them for, and you kind of want to be like, I'm going to one-up them, then they're going to one-up you, then it's just back and forth and back and forth, and before you know it you're in full tilt rolling, lungs are being coughed up, and you're spending the next week unable to move.
Yeah, I think a lot of people's first rolls are probably going to look like when you watch, like Lion Cubs playing and messing around on the savannah. Like, that's pretty much the way that it's going to go down. Everyone's going to be happy and giggling.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a good laugh. Like, I can't wait to get back in a class with like 30 people. Yeah. And I don't know whether I'm so much looking forward to going to a 200-person open mat.
I mean, I reckon there'll be a lot of people trying to do that, but then there'll be that uncertainty of, this feels very, very weird. We've not been able to be in a room with more than 6 people, and now there's 200 here.
Yeah, and the other thing is as well, you know for a fact that some of those people that you're going to go to the open mat against have been training 6 days a week
for the past 12 months.
For the past 12 months, and you're there trying to remember what an armbar is. Yeah, it's not going to be fun. I want to go back in with people who've had a lot of time off, preferably more time off than me.
Yeah, no, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the fun though, isn't it, I guess, as well, like, because then it sort of shows if you can hang with them, you could argue that your retention of the actual techniques and retention of the sport is perseveres you and serves you quite well.
Yeah, natural athlete.
That's it. That's it.
What's the technique is for the week? So I'm just going to go brute strength in the gym until I can keep throwing people around that are better than me.
That's always part of the way though. That's always the way.
But like, what did I was talking to you before we started recording a little bit about Russel Brand, as he does every now and again, has started voicing his blue belt opinion, or newly blue belt opinion about Jiu Jitsu, and preaching the philosophy of Jiu Jitsu and all the good things about it as well. But it also reminded me that he does. So he's one of the good Jiu Jitsu celebrity advocates in that he trains, from what I can tell, in a class with other people. And we obviously banged on a little bit about this over previous episodes. Sai's favourite topic of conversation is Aston Kutcher. Doesn't train, clearly doesn't train.
I didn't mention him.
I brought it up on your behalf, so that's fine. But I'm actually really glad to see that Russell Brand does train in the class, because that is what it's all about. And you listen to him talk, and he's going on about the brotherhood of training with your training partners. That means male and female as well. And like the hierarchy of the belts and a few various other things that apply to all clubs. But then he trains at a Gracie club, and then he's like don't ask a higher belt to roll. He's talking about that a little bit. He's talking about bowing to a picture on a wall before the beginning of each session, all that sort of stuff. So I'm glad he's in the mix and doing it in a class, which is great. But there's
certain aspects of that training where you kind of like get to a better club. Like, I mean, there might be great coaches there, but for me, the culture of Jiu Jitsu isn't not asking the higher belt to roll. It isn't bowing to a picture. Like, it's archaic. It shouldn't be in the sport. For me personally, I don't like.
We've talked about it a bit before, haven't we? I think depending on what sort of personality type you are and what you're looking for, you might gravitate towards that sort of club.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, I'm just really anti that, because it kind of idolises people who might not necessarily deserve that level of sort of worship, because you're essentially worshipping somebody. It's like, great, they've got the sport to the mainstream, they've been a big building block of it, but you don't see footballers bowing to pictures of Pele. You don't see rugby players bowing to pictures of Johnny Wilkinson. You see them giving homage to them in their way, and that might be wearing a shirt with the name on the back of it. Like, there's shirts you can get with a picture of Hilo Gracie on it. There's a patch you can put on your gi. You don't have to worship, again, this person because they've made something mainstream. It's acknowledge it and don't forget it, but bowing to a picture, man, like it does rub me the wrong way.
So I should take my portrait down from upstairs then.
No, you can keep that one up there.
No, okay, yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? It's like part of the lineage of it, and it's bizarre though, because a lot of other martial arts don't have that. You know, there's no one guy who was the guy who started Taekwondo. I'm sure there is. Yeah. But you don't hear about people bow. When I did karate, we didn't bow to one particular person who wasn't our instructor.
Yeah.
I can kind of get that. Like, everybody line up, instructor bows as well, and it's like a bit of a two-way respect thing.
It's like a handshake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like a handshake.
But not just bowing at a picture on the wall. And another thing just popped up there actually. There was the other thing that I wanted to talk about, which reminded me. Joe Rogan and Gordon Ryan. Like, I don't know, it seems to be everywhere. I don't know whether they're going to be doing a podcast on it soon.
I've heard rumblings, yeah.
Joe Rogan's basically licking Gordon Ryan's arse about being the greatest of all time, and I've seen a couple of pictures of him pop up at that Flow grappling event as well, where he fought Wagner. Have I watched that match yet? Have you seen it?
No, I've not seen it yet. I heard it was an interesting display, but I've got my viewpoint on no time limit matches versus time. I think we've discussed this, haven't we, on this? And unless you're winning tournaments and winning time frames and winning across multiple rule sets, can you really be regarded as the greatest of all time? Like, maybe the greatest no-gi grappler, but not the greatest grappler. Like, he's never put a gi on and competed, so how do you know he's going to be the greatest pound for pound of all time? Which is what Joe Rogan's been saying. Right.
Has he never competed in the gi? I'm not questioning that. I don't know.
I couldn't tell you. We'll have a quick Google while we're waiting. But I don't think he has. He's certainly not won any titles in the gi.
I remember him doing an IBJJF tournament. I think was it a Pan American? But I'm fairly certain that was a no-gi, and I remember him winning the tournament, but yeah. I mean, there's a lot of guys who don't do no gi. That don't do gi. They're right up there as well. I mean, you look at literally everybody who's on these, like almost everybody who's on these sub-only competitions. Craig Jones is another good example of somebody who doesn't compete in the gi, but he doesn't get shit for it because he's not.
But he's not held himself as the king of the sport. Yeah. He's just been like, he goes out there as, I'm good at what I do.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say that I'm the greatest of all time. He's not trying to put himself above other grapplers. He just sells a fight and trolls a bit on the way, but he's not going around sort of proclaiming to be the king of the sport.
He's the king of memes of Jiu Jitsu.
Well, that's a fair title to give him, to be fair.
That picture of him heel hooking that 10-year-old kid with a look of delight on his face is man. Do you know what? That's why I can't wait to get back to the gyms being open so I can go and break for the kids class. I don't care about getting beaten by people at my level. I just want to go and destroy some 10-year-olds in the kids class.
Heel hook them all. Destroy the ligaments. That's fine.
To be fair though, they've been allowed to go back to training before us. I might have to be a bit more on my toes.
Which is really frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, kids can catch it. Let us train, like let adults train, man.
I thought you were going to say let us catch it.
Let us catch it.
What else were we going to talk about? You lose something you were on there talking about before.
Yeah, there was the whole. I think one of the subjects we should touch on before we sort of go further is what we started on the start of the week, or the start of the podcast. Sorry, with easing yourself back in and sort of training times per week.
It was a smooth segue there, which I completely digressed and went off on a tangent. I was like, I'll set this one up perfectly, and here we are back again seamlessly. How many times a week should you train to come back into exercise? If almost like.
That's it. It is going to be very individual, isn't it? Like, personally, I'm one of them ones where if I've taken a long time off, I'm not going to go in with the full bodybuilding style split of chest day, shoulder day, back day, leg day, this, that and the third, because you're not going to be able to actually function as a human for that week.
Yeah.
And the stress of the nervous system is going to be horrendous as well. I'm a big advocate of full body, like hitting full body, but then again it's going to be what you enjoy doing as well. It doesn't mean that you can't not do a leg day if you wanted it. Like if you wanted to be in a wheelchair for the next few days, go do your 1,000 rep leg workout.
Rich PR, the 8-hour leg workout.
That's it, like, but we're not bodybuilders. We want to be strong.
Some people are. Some people will be doing a bodybuilding style split for Jiu Jitsu.
Oh
and
yeah.
And that's fine as well.
Oh yeah, nothing wrong with that. I'm sort of like a lot of people that we sort of talk to outside, like when we're sort of talking about training and sort of it's training to complement the mat time, isn't it really? And it's sort of being like, yeah, bodybuilding's got some great aspects for like weight training, to like some great aspects in the training to complement grappling, but if you wanted to facilitate your grappling and get better at grappling and weight train for grappling, you need to think more like an athlete rather than a bodybuilder. That's probably what I should have said rather than.
I think the one thing that bodybuilders do well, that people training in general and people training more specifically for sport can do, is look at the body as a whole and be more well balanced. You know, if you're talking about serious bodybuilders that are competing, they're not just like a guy who's going in and doing a bro split on a workout. They want as much evenly distributed muscle tissue across the body as they can. So they've got to work their legs as much as their arms, as much as their back, as much as their chest, and just make sure that they're as well rounded as possible. I think a lot of people, particularly those who fall in the bracket of might be doing a bro style workout and aren't necessarily doing something that's sports performance related, are gonna miss that leg day. It's not like leg day is the one that gets joked about being missed a lot, and you know, chest day, and it's the opposite way around for joking for women. Like there's basically no body in a female training program, but it's like being well balanced. But touching back on like getting back in at an appropriate level, I pretty much almost always say to people to the point that you're at, the time that you last seriously trained, if we're looking at being beyond more than a month of coming back in at that, just start at 50% of what you were doing. You could probably take that up to 60% the following week, 70% the following week, and then by the end of a month you might be back at the point where you were by the time you left. But to try and come back in and even go anywhere close to what you were doing before you left off, this is assuming if you've done nothing, which I'm going to guess like probably the most that anybody's done over lockdown is some band work or some kettlebell work if they've been training from home, which is great. But the reality is that how close is that to your training that you were doing before is probably less than 40%.
Yeah.
Realistically, like let's say, you know, the average guys, you know, might be deadlifting 100 kilos. If you've got a 20 kilo trap bar to hand, 20 kilo kettlebell to hand, you're quite a way off. Like it's only down at 20%, isn't it, what you capable of? And I'm sure you've been doing much more volume, but it's going to be the smartest thing you can do is come back in at around about 50% of your potential. Because you're going to feel fresh, like you want to get blood pumping around the body to start off with. Your body needs to remember the movements, and you don't want to feel sore. Like the best analogy I always use for people who are playing or doing training is like, and it's an example that I've experienced before, is yes, you train and you do a lot, and you know, you might work out your legs, but let's say you went for a game of five-a-side, like how much more sore are you going to be from all those different movement patterns that you don't do when you're either in the gym or doing Jiu Jitsu? And then you come away the next day and you're like, fucking hell, what's going on here? It's like, I train, like, why are my legs sore? Different movement pattern, you're not used to it, so just condition yourself back in at the appropriate pace, like everybody's in the same boat. You're not missing out on anything. This is the unique quality of this lockdown. Everybody's missed out. So usually it's you're injured and you're the one who's missing out, and that's why it feels worse, because you feel like you're playing catch up with everybody who's continued progressing. But I don't know what you think about that.
I fully agree with that. I think the only thing I'll probably add to that is, if you aren't sure, there's plenty of coaches out there who have the knowledge base to fully help you get back to where you were, and possibly even get you beyond where you were, because most people are going to come back to the gym with a clean slate. Like, there's going to be fewer injuries, possibly fewer imbalances. You're probably going to be more injury prone due to lack of activity. And you come into a coach with a blank canvas, because they're going to essentially treat you like you've not trained before, because you've not trained for a year. So you're going to have to retrain movements, you're going to have to rebuild strength, you're going to have to get your recovery back, possibly even get your diet back on track. And getting help is probably going to be one of the biggest investments you can make in yourself, if getting back in the gym is one of your top priorities. And if you want to get healthy and get back in the gym, invest in some proper guidance.
100% if you're unsure about what you're doing. And the point that you made there about injury prevention is massive, because what is one thing that's going to stop you from training is getting injured. So make sure you're staying on top of it with that. And I think another one that I've certainly fallen victim of, I don't know whether you're as bad as I am with it, aside from the eating side of it, is the mobility side of stuff. So like, I've been terrible with doing any mobility stuff. For me, most of my day to day, when life is normal, and it is now back to normal, is I'm on my feet, I'm moving around, demoing exercises, loading plates and bars, and lots of moving around. And Jiu Jitsu's in that, and working out's in that. But over lockdown, most of my time has been stood still or sat on my backside, and then getting up to do an hour of workout. Now, I used to be extremely active, but I've gone from being an extremely active person to doing almost nothing and then working out once a day. So my level of, I'm way more prone now to injury, because I basically jammed my body up by not doing a lot. And I should have taken that opportunity to do a lot more mobility work. I'm regretting not doing that now. And that is certainly something that I'm going to make sure that I'm putting in my work, well, not in my workouts, around my workouts, to basically complement, to unfuck everything that I've done to myself over the past 12 months. But I think because mobility doesn't have an immediate payoff, and I'm just going to say for me it's boring. Like, for me it's boring, as is some sorts of cardio. Like, I'm less inclined to do it, to be perfectly honest. So, I don't know, like, maybe I need some guidance on doing some proper mobility training, but like the structure of it, I feel for me is something that's a bit different from a structured workout. But I think those are the two things that people have probably done worse over lockdown, is crap eating, and then basically pretending that going for a walk for an hour a day is enough movement to substitute everything that you would have normally done anyway.
Yeah. Probably as well, like, there's a few things where we throw on top of that with like sleeping as well, and sort of bedtime and morning routines, like, because when you don't have to get up 90 minutes before you start your work day, because you can roll out of bed, work from your laptop and not have to actually get ready for work, you're going to push back your get up to half an hour prior to when you have to start work. Whereas last year when you actually had to commute to work, you had to get ready for work and things like that, you'd probably be getting up 2 hours, 2.5 hours prior to starting your work day, and then because of that you'd be having a better evening nighttime routine and getting more sleep. Whereas now it's, oh, I can watch one more episode of this, or I can sleep, go to bed later, and a whole heap of different things that then's just going to add more stress to the body, which is going to go back to the lack of mobility, poor diet choices because you're tired, and also you're more injury prone. So it is just sort of getting all the pieces of the puzzle back together and thinking more longevity of health as well, as opposed to just getting back in the gym or getting back training. It's like you said, you need to unmess yourself up.
Did I say that? Yeah, totally. I mean, off on a bit of a tangent, speaking of something that I've got into over lockdown, well, just recently actually, is like TV shows. I'm watching one more episode of it. I've never watched before until the last couple of weeks, Modern Family. I don't know whether you've ever seen it. Yeah. So, but this is kind of Jiu Jitsu related, so this is where I'm going with it. It's not just completely random. The Ed O'Neill in it is a black belt, isn't it?
Yeah, he's brilliant.
We've talked about it before, and there's a little bit in one of the episodes where he's like showing showing his son like some self-defense stuff. And he puts him in a rear naked choke and starts talking about Gracie Jiu Jitsu and all that sort of stuff, which I thought was quite interesting. But he's been training for years, hasn't he? He's like a legit black belt from what
he's a legit one. Like, he's not like the celebrity.
We need a segment on this show where we get
shout out the proper ones.
So far we've got, well, Ed O'Neill. We'll say Ed O'Neill first, and then we'll class Russell Brand.
Probably put you got to put Russell Brand in there, because from the sound of things, he actually takes part in class, and it sounds like he actually spars.
It sounds like that's the important bit.
Yeah,
it sounds like he spars.
Yeah, you got your Guy Ritchie.
Yeah. See, I've got to believe that
he's. I think he's Carlson Gracie. Like, I can't see that club letting somebody get to black belt without actually putting your hands on.
Is he a black belt?
I think so, yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
I actually picked up a really nice gi grip from his Joe Rogan interview years ago.
Was this where he was talking about the quality of suits on that same episode?
If I'm honest, the only thing I remember from it is the gi grip.
I might have just taken the thing about the suits away from it. Who else have we got? I mean, are we classing Joe Rogan as being a celebrity jiu-jitsuist? Because I don't think
he was a celebrity before he got his black belt, wasn't he? Because he was on Fear Factor, he was a comedian.
But he's a lifelong martial artist. Legit lifelong martial artist, and he's just switched brands later on in life.
Yeah, I don't think we can put him in that. That's kind of like putting Brendan Schaub as a celebrity martial artist.
I think I'd rather put Russell Brand there instead of Brendan Schaub.
Statham, I believe. But then he's a martial artist he turned stuntman into.
Yeah. I'd like to know whether he rolls actually, because I've seen pictures of him in the gi. And another one that I don't know how he rolls or what his setup is, but I've seen post infrequently about, or people post him in pictures of the gi, is Tom Hardy. You never really see anything about it except from when he's promoting that reorg brand.
So he's probably... I do think he does spar. He doesn't strike me as the kind of person to not spar. So yeah, I do think he probably does. Again, it could be how I'd expect certain club members to roll in the sense of, okay, I've got this role call, I literally can't afford to get injured.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be very selective with who I roll with. Which, that kind of sparring is acceptable. But contactless sparring, just come away from it, please. But then again, I would like it cleared up as to what actually happens, because the video we've seen of Mr. 2.5 Men.
Are we going with him as 2.5 Men? Whenever I think 2.5 Men, I always think Charlie Sheen, who I think would fuck Aston Kutcher up in a fight, even though he doesn't show it.
With Tiger Blood.
But I think this would be a nice little question to tie out the podcast, and people can let us know what they think in the comments. Deathmatch, Jiu Jitsu deathmatch between Russell Brand and Aston Kutcher, I think is a pretty fair matchup.
But Russell Brand's seems really nice.
I think he'd go for it. I think you put him in the deathmatch.
I think he'd go for it, but I don't think he'd do what needs to be done to win the match.
And that's the interesting question. Do you think Aston Kutcher could do what needed to be done to win the match?
I don't think he can actually get to the position to do it.
Right, they're both fighting over Mila Kunis. Aston Kutcher versus Russell Brand.
See,
who wins?
Russell Brand seems very motivated
to win.
To win that battle, I think. Yeah. So I think Russell Brand takes that one.
I think Russell Brand takes it as well.
Yeah.
Although I should be controversial to Aston Kutcher.
But the evidence we've seen isn't strong. Like, I would love someone to prove me wrong. Like, I actually would like it for someone to be like, actually no, he is a legit brown belt. That was just messing around. Here's some real rolling footage. And then it's him destroying a kids class because that's the best he can hang in.
Right, well, on that note, we managed to talk about him twice today. We are wrapping this podcast up now.
Because he ain't going to wrap nobody up.
So go follow Aston Kutcher. I don't know what his Instagram is, but
tag us in his comments.
Tag us in his comments, and everybody who follows him or has him should basically just pepper him that he needs to. I don't feel like calling him out that he should prove his jiu-jitsu, but
as a brown belt, I think he should.
If he gets his black belt, then I'm going to have a bigger issue with it.
Yeah,
I'm going to have a bigger issue with it then. But that's about our favourite person. Go follow us on the Grapplers Academy, at Coach by Sai, at the Bonafide PT, on everything. We've got this is going to be up on the audio version as well as on YouTube. You can see if you're watching it on YouTube, you can see that we've got the different setup in here today. This is why we were awkwardly sat like facing on at first.
Yeah, do we sort of face each other, or
we thought the desk was a little bit too close to face, like a weird job interview where there's a bit of footsie going on underneath the table.
So like hit foot pommel underneath.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there could be a lot while we're winning, and then we can decide who the winner is at the end. But if you want to see more than plants on the table, send us some coffee that we can drink for next time, because we're both pretty tired today.
Next to Pikachu on the laptop.
And yeah, I've not got anything else.
Yeah, no, make sure you follow, subscribe, share, all of that jazz.
Oh yeah, there's going to be less of us talking crap and more of us doing videos.
Yeah.
In the very near future.
More techniques.
So if you're only here for the techniques and you're putting up with us for the podcast, then hang fire and don't jump out just because we'll be back on the video footage again fairly soon. So, yeah.